Imagine waking up just before sunrise. The world is quiet, bathed in a soft, pre-dawn light. You take a deep breath of the cool morning air. For millions of years, our ancestors performed this same simple act. But have you ever wondered who was the very last of a particular human species to witness a sunrise? Who was the last Neanderthal, the last Homo erectus, the last Denisovans to open their eyes, knowing, or perhaps not knowing, they were the end of their line? Today, we're embarking on a journey back in time, not just to explore the dawn of humanity, but to contemplate its many dusks. We're going to search for the ghosts of our ancient relatives, the final members of species that once thrived across the globe. This isn't just a story about fossils and dates. It's a story about survival, extinction, and the profound loneliness of being the last one. Let's start with one of our most famous relatives, the Neanderthals. For hundreds of thousands of years, they were the kings and queens of Ice Age Europe and Asia. They were intelligent, strong, and incredibly resilient. They created tools, cared for their sick and elderly, buried their dead, and perhaps even had a form of art and language. They were, in so many ways, just like us. But around 40,000 years ago, they vanished. Why? The debate still rages. Was it climate change? Competition with us, Homo sapiens, who were expanding out of Africa? Or perhaps a combination of factors? Whatever the reason, their population dwindled. Imagine a small, isolated group of Neanderthals, perhaps in a cave system in modern-day Spain or Gibraltar. Generation after generation, their numbers shrank. The hunting parties grew smaller. The stories told around the fire were of a time when the valleys were full of their people. Now, picture the very last one. A woman, perhaps. An elder who carried the collective memory of her people. She would have seen her friends, her children, her grandchildren pass away, with no new generation to replace them. As she watched her final sunrise, what did she think? Did she feel a crushing loneliness, or a quiet acceptance? Did she look at the horizon and see the ghosts of her ancestors, or just the empty landscape? Her passing wasn't just the death of an individual, it was the silencing of an entire world. The end of a unique way of being human. A library of knowledge, culture, and experience, burned to the ground. But the Neanderthals weren't the only ones. Let's travel even further back, over 1 million years, to meet Homo erectus, the upright man. These were the true pioneers of the human family. They were the first to leave Africa, spreading across Asia and into parts of Europe. They were masters of their environment, likely the first to control fire, and they survived for an astonishing 2 million years. To put that in perspective, our species, Homo sapiens, has only been around for about 300,000 years. Their reign was long, but it too came to an end. The last known evidence of Homo erectus comes from a site in Java, Indonesia, dated to just over 100,000 years ago. At that time, Homo sapiens were already a well-established species. Can you imagine the scene? A small band of Homo erectus, a species that had walked the earth for millennia, clinging to existence on a tropical island. They were a living relic, a biological echo from a bygone era. Who was the last of them? A skilled hunter, perhaps, whose spear-throwing arm was a legacy passed down through 100,000 generations. He would have walked a landscape that was changing, with new, strangely gracile, primate-zauer ancestors, making their presence felt. Did he see us as a threat? As a curiosity? Or did he simply live out his days, unaware that he was the final chapter in an epic 2 million-year-long story? When he took his last breath, an incredible lineage of endurance and exploration ended forever. Now let's turn to a more mysterious branch of our family tree, the Denisovans. We know so little about them, as most of our evidence comes from a few tiny bone fragments and teeth found in a single cave in Siberia, and a jawbone from the Tibetan plateau. Yet, through the magic of ancient DNA, we know they were a distinct group, a sister lineage to the Neanderthals. DNA evidence tells us they were widespread, from the cold mountains of Siberia to the altitude plateaus of Tibet, and likely the tropical islands of Southeast Asia. And we know they met and interbred with our ancestors. Many people today, especially in Melanesia and East Asia, carry Denisovan DNA in their genomes. They are not entirely gone. A part of them lives on in us. But what of the last pure Denis? Their story is the hardest to imagine because we have so little to go on. Let's picture a wise woman living in the highlands of Tibet, maybe 30,000 years ago. She would have been uniquely adapted to the thin, cold air, a genetic gift her people passed on to modern Tibetans. She would have seen the world through different eyes, possessed a culture and a mythology we can only dream of. As her people dwindled, perhaps assimilated into the growing populations of Homo sapiens, did she feel her world slipping away? Did she pass on her stories to a new people, her grandchildren who looked a little different from her? The end of the Denisovans might not have been a dramatic final stand, but a quiet, gradual merging. The last Denisovan might not have died alone, but surrounded by hybrid grandchildren, her genetic legacy already secured, even as her unique culture faded into the dawn of a new human world. And we can't forget the hobbits. On the Indonesian island of Flores, another human species, Homo floresiensis, lived until as recently as 50,000 years ago. Standing just over a meter tall, they had tiny brains but used stone tools, hunted pygmy elephants, and faced down giant Komodo dragons. They were a testament to the strange and wonderful paths evolution can take. The last hobbit would have lived in a world that felt like a fantasy novel. But when Homo sapiens arrived on Flores, their world, too, began to shrink. The last one would have been the final guardian of an island world that had existed in isolation for hundreds of thousands of years. Their extinction was the closing of a door to a completely different kind of human possibility. So, why does this matter? Why should we care about these last individuals, these lonely figures at the end of their lines? Because their story is also our story. It's a reminder that survival is not guaranteed. For most of human history, multiple human species shared the planet. Now, only one remains. Us, we are, in a sense, the last humans. We are the sole surviving twig on a once flourishing bush of human diversity. This thought is both humbling and terrifying. It gives us a profound responsibility. The Neanderthals, the Denisovans, Homo erectus, they didn't know they were at the end. They just lived, day by day, sunrise by sunrise. We, on the other hand, understand the concepts of extinction and planetary change. We can see the pressures our world is under. The story of the last human ancestor to see the dawn is a powerful allegory for our own time. It asks us to consider our legacy. Will we be the species that learns from the past, that cherishes its unique position and protects the future of life on Earth? Or will we one day face a final sunrise of our own? The ghosts of our lost cousins whisper a warning from the deep past. They remind us that no species' time is infinite. Every sunrise we witness is a gift that was denied to the very last of our ancient relatives. Let's not take it for granted. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the deep past. It's a topic that's both fascinating and deeply moving. If you enjoyed this exploration, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the story of us. Let me know in the comments which of our ancient relatives you find most intriguing. Until next time, stay curious.